it is almost like breathing in that it's something we do every day. In fact, maybe every moment of the day. We make decisions.
Hey, how are you?
Now, most decisions are not really all that hard, are they? Though we act sometimes as if they're difficult. Where do you want to go to eat? I don't know. Where you want to go? I don't know. You decide. I'm tired of deciding. Okay, how about if we go here? No, I don't want to go there. A conversation, something like that, happens at our house at least once or twice a week.
I don't care.
Most decisions, though, are not that hard. We just make them that way. Most day-to-day decisions are not life-altering. Their consequences are not all that heavy. We make them. We go on. The world goes on. Nothing much changes. Most of us have routines in our lives, patterns that we follow day in and day out. We get up at the same time each morning, maybe fix coffee, maybe read the paper, maybe turn on the television for a favorite morning program, feed the dogs or the kids, take a shower, get dressed, go to work, same route each day. We like the routine because it feels like it's taking away the burden of decision making. And hopefully we have built into those routines activities that make us healthier physically and spiritually. One of the gifts of Lent, I believe, is that we are reminded that practicing spiritual disciplines, routines like regular prayer time or Bible or devotional reading or just having quiet time is good for us. Following those routines, though, even that is a decision, isn't it? A decision day to day. Should I get up 30 minutes earlier and have my quiet time or go exercise or should I sleep in 30 more minutes? Maybe I need to go to bed 30 minutes earlier and turn off the television. These are all decisions, but maybe not earth-shattering decisions, but nonetheless decisions. From time to time, though, we are faced with big decisions, hard decisions, the kind of decisions that are not black and white. It's not 99 to 1. It's closer to 50-50. Sometimes we know that our decisions will have a profound effect upon the lives of others. And that may be the hardest part. Sometimes decisions we make put two things that we value right up against each other. I want to do this because I believe in this, but then if I do this, it will go against this other belief that I have or this other thing that I so greatly value. Sometimes we know what our heart is telling us to do, what direction to go. But we also know there's risk involved. Things might not turn out the way we hope. We might have to give up some things we hold dear. Maybe we have dreams. We have dreams, but dreams don't pay the bills or keep the family in insurance. Maybe our dreams are not practical or even sensible to most outside observers. Hard decisions. I think one of the most important things we pass on to our children is how to make decisions. And we show them how to make decisions by the way that we make decisions. Let's talk it out. Let's think through the options. Let's consider the consequences. Let's come to agreement. You see, by watching us, children learn important skills like compromise and fair negotiation. Sometimes, though, families handle decisions in less than productive ways. In some families, there's the family dictator, right? I've heard folks say, well, whatever my dad said, that's what we did. No questions asked. Or, my mom always cried until she got her way. Or there's the way of the stoic Midwestern family. Just didn't decide. Didn't talk about things. Not realizing that, as Harvey Cox says, and I printed in the bulletin, that not deciding is a decision. Avoidance has consequences too. Sometimes more serious consequences than taking action one way or another. Earlier in my career, I spent 8.5 years working as a counselor for the Department of Mental Health. And the role of the counselor is really about helping people make decisions. Oftentimes people came with their lives in crisis because they were stuck. And they could not or would not decide to go in a different direction. They did not want to do that very scary thing called change. One of the occupational hazards of being a counselor is that too often people are stuck in their decisions and they want you as the counselor to make the decision for them. Just tell me what to do. And oh, that is so very tempting, isn't it? But really, can we grow into responsible, mature human beings if others are making our decisions for us? You know, it's too easy if we let others decide for us to simply blame them, right, when things go wrong. And that's certainly not being a mature adult. Hard decisions. I'm sure we could fill this room with stories about them. Maybe some of you are struggling right now with some of those decisions. When is it time to call it quits in a relationship versus hanging on? When is a career change that upsets the status quo and sets life in a new but uncertain track the right move? When do we step in for our adult children and bail them out of situations they got themselves into? Or when do we say to them, no rescuing you this time? How do we cope with an aging parent who may be having trouble making decisions for him or herself? Or when, as an aging parent, do we tell our children, let out? Allow us to make our own decisions. Hard decisions. When the diagnosis is something so serious it leads to a treatment that only has a small chance of helping, and the treatment is bound to create a miserable quality of life, when do you say no more? No more treatment. Hard decisions. Certainly our young people face hard decisions every day, don't they? You don't believe that? Volunteer for a day at Westside or Hannah High School or one of the middle schools. Talk to the young people. Hear about the decisions they're having to make day in and day out. On every level, from personal to societal, examples of hard decisions abound. And I think one of the reasons there's so much political dysfunction among us, from county council to Congress and everything in between, and we hear complaints that nobody seems to be able to get anything done. Put the Republicans in charge, they can't get it done. Put the Democrats in charge, they don't get it done. I think the reasons that solutions are so difficult to find is that as a society, we are facing some hard decisions. Do we find a way to bring health care insurance coverage to everyone? It's going to be costly. Costly, without a doubt, cost a lot. And none of us who work and own property want to pay more taxes, do we? But if we don't, are we going to move to the point of turning sick people away from the emergency room if they can't show an ability to pay first? I'm sorry, you're in an immediate health crisis, but if you don't have the money, no help here. That's where we're headed. Hard decisions. And everybody's concerned, a lot of people concerned about growing debt. certainly growing debt that our government's undertaking. But if you look at the debt and what's behind it, a great majority of it's attached to things we all like Social Security and Medicare. Are we willing to do without those programs and let folks fend for themselves when they age? Hard decisions. And churches sometimes face very hard decisions. We have hard decisions here. Some of them we have to make fairly often, and some of them are just percolating in my mind. How do we best help people? On Friday of this week, I found myself in the middle of a very terrifying situation as a bystander among people who were buying and selling and using drugs. My life became threatened. My life. Now, I at this point cannot give you more details about that than just that. But it brought closely home to me how when you make a choice to use drugs, that is not a personal choice. That is a choice affecting every single one of us. You are putting other people in danger, including your preacher. Now, this incident had nothing to do with anyone here, or it did not occur here. But I very well could not have been standing in this pulpit this morning because of someone using drugs making a stupid choice. I thought about how that would affect more than just me. My wife. My children. Would this church go on if the newspaper headline said local pastor killed in drug deal? We have hard choices to make here, hard decisions. How do we best help people? I struggle with it every day. I don't have a magic answer. Do we help less those who are choosing to stay stuck in their drug addiction? And do we find ways to help more those who say, I want out. I want out of this life? Pray for me. One of the things this incident has done to me right now, at least, is that God infused me from the time I was a little boy with a nature that was naturally trusting and compassionate. And I would hate to lose that in any sense. So please pray for me. In our scripture this morning, Jesus has faced and is facing some hard decisions. Should he go to Jerusalem? Jerusalem is the seat of power in the religious world of his day. It's very clear in the scriptures that Jesus reserves his strongest words of judgment for the religious, for the leaders, the dedicated church folks who defend the status quo and the needs of the institution at all costs. He also seems to have particular contempt for religious folks who have formed alliances with the powers in the repressive Roman government. Kind of an unholy marriage of church and state. And Jesus gets most torn out of the frame when he sees human need going unmet while righteous folks parade around claiming to defend the ways of God. And Jesus cannot keep his mouth shut when he watches God's so-called representatives fail so miserably when it comes to being compassionate and merciful. Jesus makes a decision that some might question if it's really the best route to go. Jesus decides to take his message and ministry to Jerusalem. to the very heart of where the power resides. Now, he did not have to do that. He could have quietly carried on his mission of mercy and compassion, his ministry of healing and good works in the Galilean countryside, and he could have ignored the hot seat of Jerusalem. But Jesus makes a different decision. He decides to go to Jerusalem. Why, Jesus? What are you thinking? One commentator upon this passage answers that question in this way. You see, he says Jesus is making his journey to Jerusalem for some very specific, powerful, and deep reasons. He goes there to announce God's love for God's people. He goes to call people to that love and to live rooted in that love. He goes there to make the culmination of his ministry, the greatest expression of his love, the ultimate sacrifice of that love to accomplish what he is destined to accomplish. Now, it just couldn't happen anywhere else on the face of the earth except in Jerusalem. And Jesus' whole life, his whole mission, his whole journey have taken him to this very point and place. Jesus makes the hard decision because his whole life is grounded in his mission to bring God's salvation to the world. Now, this doesn't mean he did not wish there could not be another way to do this. Go around Jerusalem. Avoid the controversy. Keep himself from being nailed to a cross. And we too might wish we could avoid some of the hard decisions in our lives. But we have got to know that if we follow Jesus, there will be tough choices. But also we know that if our lives are grounded in that determination to do God's will, then we are promised the grace to face whatever may happen. And in the end, to know God's victory. So my prayer for you today, and I ask that your prayer for me today be that we all will remain firm in our determination to do God's will and to trust that God will grant us the grace to face whatever may happen. And in the end, we all shall know his victory. Let us pray. We bring to you, O God, in the name of the one you came to us to show the perfect picture of love, we bring to you our hard decisions, seeking your wisdom, longing for your light, believing in your grace, and praying and hoping we can remain firm and steadfast in our determination